So what is the Dow Jones Index? You see, oftentimes investors like to use indices or index to get a good scope of what's going on with the overall market. The Dow Jones was introduced into the market back in 1896 by a man named Charles Dow. Now, his first index was created in 1884, and it was just mainly 11 transportation companies. And then he readjusted the original index on Wall Street and just named it Dow Jones Rail Average. And then if you fast forward it into 1970, he renamed it to Dow Jones Transportation Average. And the reason why he did that was to cover the introduction to air freight and other forms of transportation. And then he quickly realized that the industrial companies were quickly overtaking the transportation industry. And so now if you fast forward today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average consists of 30 of the largest companies in the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. And if you fast forward today, the Dow Jones consists of 30 of the largest companies in the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. We're talking about Nike, Apple, Boeing, and a whole bunch more. So we're going to dive into it. I'm going to show you how you can trade it, and we'll even look at the ETF as well as the index. And I want you guys to take notes. This is how I personally would trade it. Let me know your thought. By the way, if you haven't already subscribed, hit that like button. This is a brand new channel, and feel free to join our new Discord group. It's in the description below. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, guys, so before we go ahead and look at the charts, I want to show you a site that I like to use if I am just wanting to brush up on some skill, look at some companies, see how some companies are doing within the Dow 30. I like to go to cnbc.com/Dow-30, and you want to save this to your laptop, your computer, just your favorite list. And that way you can go ahead and just look at this. Now, I like to look at the stocks, the Dow 30, NASDAQ 100, and then the different sectors and ETF. So you'll just make sure you're under Dow 30. And these are the 30 companies that are traded in the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange that's within this index of Dow. All right, so you have American Express, large company, Amgen, Apple, Boeing, Caterpillar, Cisco Systems. And this is all in alphabetical order. You can change it due to price and so on and so forth. But this tells you what the current price is being traded. You have to refresh it, or you can just go to your live chart. And so these are some major companies. And oftentimes professional investors will look at the Dow 30 because it's one of the oldest index traded. They will look at this just to get a feel of how their individual stocks are doing. So for example, if American Express is doing really well, it's also a part of this Dow 30 index, and the Dow 30 index should go very well. But not just one company, you have 30 companies. So imagine instead of trading one stock, you're trading all 30 stocks in one, and not just normal stocks. We're talking about large companies that move the market that a lot of people are investing in. So just to take away what I'm saying in regards to the index and also the Dow ETF, you're trading a basket of stocks all in one into one index here. So let's go ahead and show you how I would trade the Dow. So first, what you'll go to is your platform, and you want to just type in US30. Sometimes you'll hear the Dow 30 or USA 30, but you can just go on your platform, type in US30, and it will look like this. And what we always do is we want to look at the higher time frame just to see exactly what is going on with the market. What trend is happening? Is it an uptrend, downtrend? And that will often give you a good idea as to how you want to trade it, whether if you're going to buy or sell. All right, so looking at the daily time frame, we can clearly see that we're in an uptrend. And I like to scroll back just to see what happened in the past. So we can see that price is continuing to rise overall, but we want to see now zoom in to see what's going on. And I have this line here because this indicates a sign of resistance here. So if you're unfamiliar with what resistance is and support, I'll give you a brief demonstration. We have resistance here, you can call it the ceiling, and we have support, which is the floor. And oftentimes when price gets to the ceiling, it will reject and bounce off. And this is how you can sometimes identify how you want to trade the market. And the same as support. If price comes down to support, oftentimes you want to buy. Now, you're not just buying just because you identify support and resistance. We want to look at the price here on the right side, and we know that those who move the market are also looking at the price. And oftentimes we want to trade just like them. We don't want to trade on our own account. We want to trade just like them. So that being said, you want to identify support and resistance. And I'm going to actually make a video only on support and resistance, and that will be my next video. So I want you guys to make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, because right after this video, I'm going to go really in depth on supply and demand, also support and resistance. And this will be a lot clearer once you start trading. All right. So that being said, I'm going to find my resistance level by simply drawing a rectangle. The reason why I'm selecting this here is because I noticed in the past when price got to this level, it rejected very, very abruptly to the downside. It did something like that here, right? The reason why I'm marking this rectangle here as support is because it did this in the past here back in July of 2023, back in also April of 2022, March of 2022, and I can even go further out to right here, which was August 2021. So when you have indication like this here, 9 times out of 10, price is going to react off of that same level here. This is called price action. When you're looking in the past at price to see what the big movers have done, and that's going to determine how you're going to trade it as well. So there's nothing like good old support and resistance, supply and demand when you're trading. You can never go wrong. It doesn't matter what chart you're looking at, what market you're trading. This is what I like to do when I'm trading indices or even ETFs. So we can see currently price is in the middle of our resistance, also in the middle of our support here. Resistance is the ceiling, support is the floor. So at this particular time, I'm not interested in buying or selling unless it comes to my resistance area here or my support area here at the floor. Now I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the lower time frame, just kind of looking to see exactly what the candles are doing. So oftentimes people like to go to the lower time frame, like the 1 hour, the 30-minute, and the 15-minute, just to kind of scalp. And that's nothing wrong with that, but you want to make sure that you're scalping correctly because there's also support and resistance, supply and demand levels on the lower time frame. The only thing with that is it can be a little bit more tricky because these numbers here aren't as significant as the wider range or the daily range, okay? Because on the higher time frame, you're actually trading with the trend. We can see that we're currently in an uptrend. So I would personally love for price to head down here before I buy. But if that doesn't happen, then I may consider selling. So let's go ahead and clean up our chart here. We're going to look a little bit deeper here now that we're in the 2-hour time frame. So as we do this, now what you want to do is just see what is price doing. And to me, it's actually ranging a bit. So I can draw a resistance line here, and I can draw a support line here. So I like to kind of call this as a minor resistance or minor support. Okay, so it's ranging, and ranging simply means when price is moving up and down between support and resistance, it's not giving us a clear path or a clear direction overall, but it's just moving sideways. Another thing I like to do here is to see, now that it is ranging, what happened prior to it ranging. And what was going on was there was a clear indication of an uptrend here. So what's going to happen is one or two things. It's going to either break out to the upside or continue lower. And it also all depends on news, what the companies are doing. So that's why it's important to know what these companies are. And I'm going to make this screen a little bit larger so that it's easier for you to see. So it's important to see what these companies are, because if we have a few companies like technology companies, for example, like Apple, or what's another technology company here, like 3M Co. or Salesforce or Visa, and if there's something going on with technical companies, then this may take a dump here. So it's important to also follow fundamentals, and we'll go into that in another video. Fundamentals simply means news. What's going on with these companies overall? Because the strength of the Dow 30 is dependent on these companies. Now, in my opinion, these are some major companies here, and a lot of other people's opinion as well. So overall, I think it's wise to buy because these companies continue to grow. And so you want to buy at support. This is my way of thinking. I'm not always trading just to trade. You don't want to trade just to trade. I like to trade at major support zones, specifically when there are large companies involved like this US30 here, okay? So if price comes down anywhere within this range, I would say around 35,480 down to 35,280, I am all on top of buying. It all depends on when price breaks out of this range here and what will happen after. Now, again, if price heads to the upside to our resistance level, then I'm interested in selling at that range. And that range begins anywhere between 36,837 to 37,107. So anywhere between that. Also want to show you this ETF here. This is called DIA, and this is an ETF of the Dow 30 index. It runs the exact same as this here. So if I go to my 2-hour chart here and I do something like this, it's the exact same thing as this one here. Right? So you can see that this is ranging here. It's the exact same thing. Now, the only difference is the US30 is an index or indice, and the DIA is an ETF. And you can see the difference in price here. So the ETF is $363.55. The index is 36,296. So it pretty much follows the same thing. This is the overall weight of those 30 companies. This is kind of like a mini weight of all of those 30 companies. It still consists of all 30, but they're just micro, right? So you can trade either one. I like trading the ETF, but you may have different preferences depending on what your goal is and how you'd like to trade. So guys, I wanted to give you a brief breakdown. This is a very new channel, so I want to give you little chunks of information of what stocks are, what indices are, what ETFs are. I'm not going to go too much in depth until later on in this YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments if this made sense. Next video, we'll talk about supply and demand. We'll talk about support and resistance. Again, be sure to join our Discord group down below, very new, in the description. And be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next video. God bless you.